Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to No Final Bell. As always, we are going to have Impact. Um, was it Turning Point?
Yes.
Yeah, Turning Point before AEW Dynamite and Collision.
Yes.
So,
So, Turning Point came to us from New, yeah, it was Newcastle, England, I believe. Either way, it was Impact's first time in the UK in, I believe they said like 5 or 6 years. So, we did get a couple of local indie, like British independent workers along with one particular big name. Well, I guess you could say two particular, eh, three particular big name uh, English, or I guess you could say like Scott slash English. Um, but regardless, and the first of the three that I'm talking about is Grado. So Grado was on the card. He was He had a mystery partner that he was going to reveal to take on the team of Ryan Richards and gut check winner Mike DiVecchio. And the mystery partner ended up being Rhino. So Rhino and Grado beat Ryan Richards and Mike DiVecchio on the countdown to Turning Point. Also on the countdown to Turning Point, we had a local championship being defended. So Leon Slater, who, by the way, is Impact Wrestling's newest, or at least one of their newest signings,
hmm
he took on Mark Haskins, which I am familiar with Mark Haskins, but it's only because of ICW being on the WWE Network. There were a lot of different like matches and whatnot with Mark Haskins from ICW. So, um, but regardless, Leon Slater took on Mark Haskins for his North Wrestling Championship and retained and beat him. So then we start off the main card of Turning Point with a tag team match between, okay, change that to four big names. So this was the second. Um, Josh Alexander and Eric Young, the resident Canadians, which they're kind of a weird tag team in retrospect, considering all of the things that Eric Young has done in his past. And now he's teaming up with Josh Alexander when they just like fought a year ago at Slammiversary. It's like, how did this come to be? But regardless, they took on Subculture, which we all remember when they were the Impact Tag Team Champions. Unfortunately, that reign didn't really last for too long. Regardless, they came back for the tour of the UK with Impact Wrestling, but unfortunately, Subculture did not get a win against Josh Alexander and Eric Young. Then we had this match is not really much to talk about because and it, with all due respect to Gazelle Shaw, it's like I just don't know who her opponent was, nor did I really give too much attention to the match or even pay much attention to the match in general, but she beat Alex Windsor. Um, Next match was like a Impact Wrestling sanctioned match. There was no UK involvement in that whatsoever. Rich Swann took on Trey Miguel and beat him. Then we had the Juggernaut Jordan Grace taking on another resident member of Subculture, Danny Luna, and then Jordan Grace beat her. So this next match was actually one that I was looking forward to. The second it got announced, I was like, "Oh, I'm definitely going to tune into this." So this is the third Oh, four. Simon Miller from What Culture got into an Impact Wrestling / TNA ring. He took on Joe Hendry. And it's interesting that Simon Miller, especially as of late, in the British independent scene, is working as a heel. So, because he was running down Joe Hendry and he grabbed the mic. He was like, "Before the match starts, I just want to apologize to Joe Hendry. I'm sorry that I make more money on YouTube than the rest of the guys in the back. I'm sorry that I'm more popular than everybody in the back. I'm sorry that I have to wrestle in front of these goobers in here in Newcastle." And so then, of course, as per usual with Joe Hendry, he made a song about Simon Miller, calling him an Austin from Wish, calling him Mr. Clean. Um, it's a bit non PG, but I'm kind of surprised that Joe Hendry didn't go with a line about him looking like Johnny Sins.
Hmm.
But regardless, if you know who Johnny Sins is, leave a like. Even if you don't, leave a like. But either way, so Joe Hendry was going to talk to the crowd, but then Simon Miller beat him down before he could get a word in. Um, then we had some more verbal assault from Simon Miller. He was going to do a live ups and downs, but that didn't come to be. Uh, Joe Hendry beat him down during the during the match, and it resulted in Joe Hendry beating Simon Miller. So that happened. Um, this next match was a weird tag team match, if you ask me. Moose and Brian Myers, which we know they're a tag team, but their opponents were kind of a weirdly thrown together tag team. So Moose and Brian Myers, the most professional wrestling gods, took on Frankie Kazarian and Chris Sabin and beat them. So then we have the Knockouts World Title being defended, and it was weird because they said it was the main event, and I'm like, well, we like they said it was the main event, but then they had another match after it, so it's like that wasn't really the main event. Trinity took on Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts World Title. Trinity beat Deonna Purrazzo. She made her tap out again. And I believe so far Trinity is the only one that has ever made Deonna Purrazzo tap out in Impact Wrestling. So, but then after the match, oh, I forgot to mention, Gail Kim was the special guest referee for the match. And after the match, Deonna Purrazzo attacked Trinity, and to the point where she was goading Gail Kim, and eventually Gail Kim just was like, "All right, I've had enough of this." Gave Deonna Purrazzo an eat defeat, and now for the main event. Now this is the fourth well-known guy. I'm sure you guys know him, the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay. He took on Eddie Edwards in the mat in this on this show. Um, to tell you the truth, though, this match didn't feel as big as Ospreay versus Mike Bailey, and it's no disrespect to Eddie Edwards, he's a great competitor and all, but I just didn't feel like he was the right kind of person to challenge Will Ospreay. That was a bit of a weird, matchup for me. But regardless, um, they did have some good exchanges and good spots in the match. So we had a lot of hidden blade, near falls, a lot of that kind of thing. Obviously, we weren't going to see Will Ospreay bust out a Storm Driver 93 on Eddie Edwards. But, I mean, truth be told, we probably weren't going to see Eddie Edwards take a Poison Rana either. But regardless, it was a decent match for what it was worth. Ospreay got the win against Eddie Edwards via the Stormbreaker. And then he was sending the fans home happy. And he was like, I hope everybody can walk out of here as a TNA kid. Because I grew up watching TNA, like all this stuff. It's like, well, it's apparently one of his like choices. It's one of them because he's either going to sign to WWE or AEW or potentially TNA, maybe. Like he has those three options.
I still think that he might sign with AEW only because Mark Davis. I
feel like it's a given that he's going to go to AEW.
But then again, I mean,
but I don't know.
Could he be involved with the Don Callis family or turn on the Don Callis family?
I was going to say he already has a storyline in AEW.
In a way. He does. So we're going to get, speaking of AEW, we're going to get onto the AEW side of things. We all know with everything that happened with Orange Cassidy and Kazuchika Okada, but it has been reported that actually it was just a way to write him off TV because he actually did suffer a orbital
he did suffer
fracture,
an orbital bone fracture,
but not in that match.
Orbital bone, not in the Okada match. But they're writing it into a storyline that Okada and Orange Cassidy were the ones that broke his orbital bone.
Yeah, and
when it was actually Andrade.
And speaking of Danielson and Okada, they're actually going to face off against each other at Wrestle Kingdom 18 in January, which
I don't know
could be good, could be a bad thing. I think it's going to be a hell of a match. If you ask me,
it's not a good idea.
I mean, probably not, but telling Danielson no in this last run of his career is probably telling a kid you can't have any candy. I mean, come on. They're going to say they're going to be like, sorry, that ain't happening. But
telling a kid that he can't have candy is more realistic than telling Bryan Danielson no in this day and age.
Yeah, well, yeah. But speaking of the first match, Orange Cassidy and Claudio Castagnoli face off for the International Championship. And I will say, this match got very testy early. Orange Cassidy and Claudio Castagnoli. Claudio was not having it with Orange Cassidy's antics. He was really trying to get after Orange Cassidy the whole entire match. Orange Cassidy was just, trying to get his normal stuff in, and Claudio just like, bruh, like, why are you doing this to me? I don't want to, I don't want to deal with your antics. I want the real, Orange Cassidy, and well, Orange Cassidy was able to bring it to the Claudio Castagnoli. Claudio, as much as I would love to see him really win a singles championship in AEW, it just seems like he can't get the job done in AEW. I mean, this is a man that has been a long reigning ROH World Champion before it. Eddie Kingston beat him for it. But ultimately,
how long of a reign was it really, though?
For Claudio? I mean,
yeah,
pretty lengthy reign.
He did hold it for a good amount of time, but yeah, it just.
But ultimately, Orange Cassidy does beat Claudio Castagnoli to retain the International Championship, and then after the match, we got to see a very distraught Jon Moxley beat the living shit out of Orange Cassidy. Thoughts on that one? Before we get into that, they're actually going to face off against each other at Full Gear for the International Championship. Has this gotten personal between these two men? I mean, I think it's gotten real. I think it's gotten to the point where Orange Cassidy better watch what he's going into, because Jon Moxley is going to literally beat the shit out of Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's going to have to bring his best. It's probably going to be a match where Jon Moxley blades. I mean, come on now. I know I hate to expose the business,
It's not a Moxley match without him bleeding
but
all over the
ultimately,
place.
I think it's going to be another good match. I think this one should be no rules, like lights out match for the national championship. Maybe. I mean, who knows? Could be something like that. Um, yeah, we haven't seen Moxley in a while. I mean, he's been hurt, concussed, and stuff like that. It was actually nice. Um, he was able, to go out there and show that, you know, get the job done, and that this is his moment, this is his spot. That should have been him facing off for the international championship instead of Claudio Castagnoli. So this feels personal for Jon Moxley, and Orange Cassidy kind of bumped him on the way there. That I think it was not scripted at all. That was not supposed to happen. Orange Cassidy took liberties of his own actions, and I hate to say it, Orange, there's some consequences to said actions, and you're about to see them at Full Gear, and I hope you're ready just to get the ass whooping you deserve. I hate to say it, because it's going to happen. So, honestly, I really do think that Moxley is going to beat Orange Cassidy at Full Gear, retain or win back the international championship, and have it as that. Honestly, I really do think that Moxley, is going to be knocking at the door of the international championship and get it back. I mean, how do we feel? How do you think about that? How do you feel about that?
I mean, either way, this is a story that's going to be like worth watching. But in terms of like who walks out the victor, I truly have no idea. So
Right. So we get on to the next match. On the Gates of Agony face off against the Elite.
the
It,
Mogul Embassy.
yeah. The Mogul Embassy faces off against the Elite. Um, for the ROH World Six-Man Tag Team titles. I know, kind of seems weird. The Elite. Okay, so the Gates of or the Mogul Embassy were the Six-Man Tag Team champions, lost into the Elite, and then they're competing in the match for the Six-Man World Tag Team titles. For ROH, and I tell you what, I mean, you thought maybe the Elite were gonna be able to retain him. You thought maybe that the Hardy Party was gonna be able to beat the Elite the week prior, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I thought maybe there was a slim hope, but ultimately, can you guys do me a big favor, Tony Khan, AEW? Stop putting ROH content on AEW. Why are we having the six-man tag team
Yeah,
titles on the line when you have excuse my language, the fucking World Trios tag team titles that are getting defended against, hate to say it, scrums. I
yeah,
mean, we'll talk about it later. 69, day celebration of the Acclaim and Daddy Ass. But again, you had them face off against our ROH trio, because of course you did. So I just, my thought process is like, you know, at least Dynamite later tonight looks like it's going to be a good card. Collision might be a good card too. But like again, what are you guys doing? I am sick and tired of watching Dynamite and Collision and just like you have hokey pokey shit on
yeah,
there right now, and you um then you have all matches just on Collision, and then Dynamite's like okay, but again, even Collision's like kind of at best, and you wonder why you're struggling to sell tickets for the main shows. Start having it the way that it was. People don't care about these hokey pokey storylines. Give them the wrestling that they deserve, they want to see every week.
yeah.
Pay per view quality stuff on your shows. I get it. You don't really see that much in WWE. That's why it's better to see the pay-per-views, and maybe that's the route that AEW is trying to go at. Is like, okay, you know what?
It doesn't work though.
I
It
know
doesn't work.
it doesn't.
Because not for nothing, if that's the route that they're gonna go of like, trying to make the weekly shows like literally as unwatchable as possible, and to make fans like only care about watching the pay per views, then not for nothing, that's gonna bring the company downhill.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate to say it, but look at WWE anyways. Their
See,
weekly shows are just
like I said,
very tough to watch, and fans complain all the time about it, but
right.
yet, like, when it comes to pay per views and match quality of that, it's like,
I mean, for instance, you had the Elite beat the Mogul Embassy for the six-man tag team titles. You had to maybe hold them a couple weeks at most, maybe
maybe even a month.
maybe longer than that, and then you have the
It
Gates
wasn't
of
long.
Agony beat
Mogul
them.
Embassy.
Yeah, the Mogul Embassy beat them to win back the ROH World Six-Man Tag Team titles. And then during the match, Adam Hangman Page runs after Prince Dominance for Strickland as they're
Well,
coming out.
see, here's
What's
the
up?
thing too: is like, when did AEW / ROH start doing 50-50 booking?
I don't know. I just think that Tony Khan has just lost all credibility as being a booker ever
He really
since.
should give the reins over to somebody that can actually, like, you know, do it consistently. And like, I'm not saying that he should do what WWE does and have like a team of writers and everything, because not for nothing, having a team of writers makes it seem like it's a television
I
show as
think you
opposed to a
should go
wrestling.
back to what you were doing before, where you gave power to the EVPs and have them do
I
some.
don't know if I would go that far, but at least, give it some kind of a
Because
different.
now it seems like, because you remember when AEW first started, the EVPs had a little bit more reign of stuff. I feel like
Mhm.
it's kind of drawn back, and they're not as much.
Well, yeah, the EVPs apparently no longer have creative control over their
That's what I'm saying.
characters
That's
or
what
anything
made
like that.
AEW so great, is that they
I was
had a
gonna
little
say,
bit more
quite
creative.
frankly, I don't even think anybody lately has creative control over their characters, and not for nothing, I feel like that's what's causing the the significant like downhill slump
Yeah.
that AEW is in currently. But I could be wrong. Maybe there are, people in AEW that are able to express creative control, but
I think they can, but honestly, yeah. Heyman tries to go after Prince Dominant's first
either
Strickland
way,
and
you wouldn't
cause a
know
big
if they
saying.
did.
They had to be pulled apart. And then afterwards, Heyman left the Young Bucks by themselves to
Mm-hmm.
defend the six-man tag team titles, and just the numbers just got to them and couldn't do it and lost. And then Matt Jackson looked
Yeah, they were
visibly
getting
upset
heated.
after the match. He was
Yeah.
throwing everything he could in the book. He looked frustrated. Nick Jackson just kind of seems like just there in the background, but yeah, it definitely seems like maybe the Elite could be done, could be over with. I mean, we'll talk about more of it, but it just seems like the Young Bucks are just upset and frustrated with everything that's been going on as Elite, and honestly, all the power to them. And I hope that Tony Khan doesn't just forget that they are technically the number one contenders for the tag team titles, because they're your number one contenders, but yet there's no
Well, see,
storyline going with the tag team titles.
here's another thing
Again,
too.
another thing that I was
Yeah,
like, you better not have just dropped that completely and be like, hey,
yeah.
they're not.
Well, here's another thing too that I feel. Um, have you noticed that AEW has gotten rid of the ranking system?
Well, that's been like that for a while
I
too.
mean, yeah, I know that, but like, I feel like it wouldn't really be a bad thing to bring it back.
That's what I'm saying. I think you need to go back to like the way it started off. What made it,
What made it
different.
feel
What
different?
made it feel great. I mean, because next thing you know, they're gonna get rid of the fucking time limits and be like, you guys can have as much time as you want to, and then we're gonna have as little time as possible for certain matches. So
Well,
I would hope that would not be the case,
not to
but
mention, like as of late, they haven't really like you know they would they the matches have a time limit, but you wouldn't know how much time has passed because they don't announce it anymore. It's like, okay, well, what happened to like announcing, 5 minutes remaining on the 30-minute time limit, or like 5 minutes remaining on the 20-minute time limit? Like, what happened? I you know I feel like we're doing a lot of criticizing of AEW on this episode, but like in a
yeah,
way it's kind of justified.
it is. And speaking, we're gonna go forward. Adam Copeland comes out next and says he respects both Sting and Darby Allin and want answers to if he will team up with them at Full Gear. And out comes Christian Cage with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. It says Louisville, shut your mouth, damn mouths, while he conducts business. Claims he is going to retire Sting at Full Gear, whether he likes it or not. And if you have seen Darby as of late, he has a banged up arm after Christian Cage threw him onto the stairs to wrestle a dream. Says he doesn't think he has to remind anyone about Adam Copeland's neck problems and doesn't want his tale to turn into a nightmare, and suggests he backs down from the offer, or else he will snap his neck and leave him in a wheelchair living undignified. And then Adam Copeland starts beating down Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus. They come into the ring, and then Christian Cage is in the ring with Adam Copeland, and Luchasaurus beats down Adam Copeland, and Nick Wayne gives him Wayne's World and then throws in two chairs into the ring, and out comes Sting to beat down Nick Wayne. And also Darby Allin beating down Christian Cage, and then turns things around as Adam Copeland is ready to give a hell of a spear to Christian Cage, and will officially team up with Darby Allin and Sting to face Christian Cage. Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus with Full Gear. Thoughts? Yeah, it's about time that Adam Copeland finally puts his emotions aside, teams up with Sting and Darby Allin, take on Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and um, Christian Cage. But the thing is, could this be a whole thing where somehow Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne turns on Christian Cage, he ends up being himself, and then somehow Adam Copeland and Christian Cage team back up again? Because if so, that seems so weird. I hope that's not the case, especially
Yeah,
with Christian Cage being the TNT champion. But again, I mean, it's wrestling. It could happen. It very well could happen. But finally, Adam Copeland puts his differences aside, his emotions aside, will team up with Sting and Darby Allin. But man, can we just talk about that hell of that spear that he put on Christian
yeah.
Cage? It looked good. I mean, he can still do it. Um, All In was a very successful pay per view for AEW back in 2023. Well, guess what? It's coming back in 2024. August 25th, 2024 will be All In. Now, the real question is, could they sell even more tickets this time and create even more history?
Maybe,
Could be possible.
maybe.
Because I think that the goal of mine would be, 85, 90,000 tickets sold. I mean,
I don't know necessarily that they could do that unless they like opened up, unless they didn't have such a long stage like they did, or unless like they narrow the like you know I don't
I
know.
mean,
Realistically
there's a
speaking,
lot more
though,
seats on the ground that they could open up too. I mean,
that's true too. That's true too.
but
Unless they also were to open up seats like behind where the
yeah, I
stage
mean that's
is, or like the entrance way is. So
right. I mean, honestly, I think that it's
they
gonna
could
be.
definitely do
I think it's
something
gonna be a
about like
great pay per
selling
view
more seats
regardless.
though.
I mean, they always seem to put on some good, have some great cards for these pay-per-views, and I think it's gonna also be, there's gonna be another good card for Full Gear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think All In can be another great pay-per-view, great event. I think it's gonna be one that they're gonna have every single August.
That
Um,
would be nice.
And then we got into our next match, the Golden Jets, which are Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho facing off against Copeland and Daddy Magic. No Daniel Garcia in this match at all, but
Nope.
uh,
Nope. No dance.
you know, but honestly, Cool Hand Ainge, Daddy Magic, and Daniel Garcia have not been on eye to eye. They have not been on good terms. Daddy Magic has still been on Daniel Garcia's side, but something about Cool Hand Ainge or Daddy Magic doesn't seem like he's on his side. But Cool Hand Ainge, he's like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to support my boy Daniel Garcia and everything like that. But Daddy Magic's like, I am sick and tired of this sports entertainment crap. So I feel like eventually
Sounds to me like Daddy Magic wants to be a wrestler.
Hey, if Daniel Garcia, we'll talk about it, but Daniel Garcia almost slipped it. It said professional wrestler instead of sports entertainer. But honestly, the Golden Jets, man, honestly, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho have been looking good, and it very well could be, Don Callis' family and Chris Jericho and everything like that heading into full Wrestle Dream. I know that they're going to be competing in California.
Yeah.
Next week, because it's in the Moda Center later tonight in Portland, Oregon, and then next week will be in Ontario, California.
Oh, that's right. Dynamite is in Ontario, California.
But man, the Gold
Rampage and Collision are both in the Kia Forum.
Yes.
Before.
But honestly, ultimately, the Golden Jets do beat Cool Hand Ainge and Daddy Magic, even though they got a little testy. They haven't forgotten everything that Chris Jericho has done in that. Done to them for 2.5 years and everything like that. So ultimately, I mean, there was a little bad blood before the match. I mean, they beat down Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho beforehand, even spilled outside in the ring, and then both got in. And I tell you what, man, I know that Kenny Omega claims that he's no longer the best bout machine, but man, that man just does some freaking great things in that wrestling ring, and I think he's still the best bout machine. I don't care if he's gotten older or not, he can still wrestle. And then after the match, Don Callis has something to say and has got to give them credit and says after getting their asses beat, they are still around and says maybe this gets finished on the street. Is as if they have what it takes, they will step up to the plate and take the match. So actually, the Golden Jets will bring on Kota Ibushi. Now comes a friend that is bigger than Will Hobbs. It ends up being Paul White. This will be one hell of a street fight in Ontario, California. And could we see thoughts on Paul White?
First of all, that 6-man match isn't happening until another 2 or 3 weeks.
8-man tag team match, by the way.
Isn't it? Okay, well, either way, that's not happening.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Will Hobbs,
and who? What? Oh, Guevara?
Probably. Guevara should be back.
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately who it's going to be. But man, Paul White, I don't know how I feel about him wrestling after just getting hip replacement and everything like that. But honestly, he doesn't have to be much in the. He doesn't have to do much in the match. He probably will get involved and start beating down with Will Hobbs and chokeslam him and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, at least that's the one good thing about a tag team match is that if somebody is, either already injured or goes down with an injury during the match, they can just have the other guy come in and do the rest of the
Yeah,
work.
and people forget Dakota Ibushi, I think, is actually signed to a, or
Unofficially.
yeah, but
But he has confirmed in like a interview that like yeah he signed
and then
a deal.
afterwards we saw uh the Young Bucks with Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho in the locker room. They're like, what is he doing in our locker room? I thought we're your friends. How come you've gotten Chris Jericho and we're not part of this? And
Yeah.
they it's like, oh, that's right. He can be in here all he wants. Just make sure that you clean up before you leave. We could be seeing an implosion of the Elite in the heel side of the Bucks here. It could be very well possible, man. I tell you.
I mean, I don't know necessarily that I would want to see a heel Young Bucks again because of just how much go away heat they had as heels. And like not for nothing, go away heat is not what you need for AEW, regardless of who the character is. Like MJF when he was like a heel, he had a lot of like he had a mixture of like every type of heat in a way because he had like the go away heat of like people just don't want to see him like on the program taking up TV time and all that stuff. He even
Mm,
had like the cheap heat of like, oh, your local team sucks and like all this stuff. It's like
right.
so, but
But yeah, it definitely seems like the Elite are imploding one by one. But again, how
I mean,
much?
Hangman isn't really seen much with the Elite as it is,
No, he's too
except
involved.
I
He's
was
too
gonna say
involved with
except for
Swerve
when
Strickland,
he
which,
was the
by the way, that match
Ring of
has
Honor
gotten
six man
announced. It will be Swerve Strickland against Adam Hangman Page at Full
two.
Gear 2. Um, I say that there's going to be a third match at World's End.
It's
I don't think this
possible.
rivalry is over with.
They gotta have a rubber
I
match.
mean, I think Adam Hangman Page is going to get the victory at Full Gear, and they got to have a rubber match at World's End. It's got to be a three match. I think it's going to be a three match rivalry, and it's going to happen at World's End. How about that? End of a rivalry at the final pay per view of the year.
Hmm.
Um, so we got to our next match. Hikaru Shida and Willow Nightingale face off against each other for the AEW World Championship. I know you're thinking in your mind, and I'm thinking in my mind, what is the hell has Willow Nightingale done to even deserve an opportunity? Well, here is why I tell you maybe it makes sense. She is currently the Owen Hart tournament winner for
Well,
the women's division. So
yeah, but even that like doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like just because she won the Owen Hart Cup, like doesn't really like unless you build it up well. In
yeah,
which case, they didn't really build it up well for
no,
Willow.
she's got opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Any kind of title going out for her. I mean, she's gotten countless TBS championship opportunities, countless AEW Women's World Championship opportunities, and also ROH Women's World Championship opportunities. And unfortunately, it's all fallen short in every single match. There, I think that she can be a future champion in the company. Don't get me wrong. I mean, she's won a title in NJPW
Yeah,
strong.
she was she was an NJPW Strong Women's Champion for
I
a
think she
good
was the
while before.
inaugural
No,
NJPW Strong
that was
Women's World Champion.
Mercedes Monet.
Okay, but again, um, it just sucks because I mean
Which
Hikaru Shida. Don't get me
Willow
wrong.
beat to become
Don't get me
the
wrong. Hikaru Shida has been having a decent run. I mean, she's been putting that title on the line a lot recently, but it just I don't know what they're doing. Um, the real thing is, when is Thunder Rosa gonna eventually come back?
um
Because I mean, I
she could be coming back sooner.
because I'm sorry, this division needs Britt Baker back so badly. They need
Yeah.
um, Jamie Hayter back so badly.
Well, I don't know her
Thunder Rosa
injury.
possibly. back because I'm sorry, those are three big names that you're just lacking right now,
Yeah.
and it's showing.
Yeah.
When I hate to say it, and we'll talk about it, but if somebody like Emi Sakura, who is not even currently signed to AEW, puts on better matches than half of your women's roster, there's a problem that
Yeah.
needs to be had, and that is it. Um, but yeah, she beats Novella Nightingale to retain the AEW Women's World Championship, and then out comes Tony Storm after the match, and Eric Shida chases after her, and then Julia Hart is in the ring with Willow and extends the hand to her, and out comes Sky Blue to Blue Mist into Julia
Yeah.
Hart. Thoughts?
Sprays the blue mist.
I don't know. It feels weird. I would think that maybe it can signify that Julia Hart can be back to the good side in some way because it's not black mist, it's blue mist, and it's sky blue. So I mean, sky blue.
I don't think that Julia's gonna come back to the good side anytime.
Probably not, but hey, one could maybe hope.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, she may have gotten misted in the face by Malachi, and it turned her towards the House of Black. But
Right.
that was a
We
different thing.
Didn't really state this most of this show, but the whole entire night, MJF was looking for 3 partners, and he was trying with everybody. I mean, he was trying to see about recruiting Kenny Omega, but Chris Jericho is there. It's like, no, it's not happening. Then like the Acclaim and Daddy Ass were just lurking around. Even the Kingdom and Roderick Strong were trying to get there, and well, we also got to see Adam Cole on video call during the beginning of the night, and man, that just bushy beard. I guess that time off was really just kind of has really made him kind of lazy and just not care about his I don't know, his beard. Maybe he's taking no shave November to a literal T. I don't know, maybe, but yeah. Ultimately, after everything, uh, the Claim and Daddy Ass were coming out there, but it was like there's no MGF. Well, MGF came out there full on.
Oh yeah.
Acclaimed gear.
Yep.
The shirt, the tights,
they wanted him to like so. If I remember correctly, the thing was is like, oh, we'll be your partner, but you gotta wear this and you gotta scissor with us.
Well, yeah, we got to see him wearing the gear and we got to see the scissor party, but ultimately, I mean, Daddy Ass basically had a force.
I was gonna say it wasn't. If it wasn't for Daddy Ass, we probably wouldn't have gotten a scissor party with MJF and the Acclaimed.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later during their 69-day celebration too.
Well, basically, Daddy Ass looked at MJF. He's like, "You can scissor him now." So.
Right, because he kind of did Max Caster, after all this time.
Not really, considering everything that Max did, that Max Caster did for MJF. I almost said that Max did for Max, but I'm like, well.
Right. But ultimately, Bullet Club, actually, speaking of it, Jay White actually pinned MJF clean.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if he's actually not going to be MJF at Full Gear. Honestly, there's a big, strong case that it's probably not going to happen. He's got too many targets on him right now. I mean, he's got Wardlow, he's got Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs. He did have Kenny Omega, but did beat Kenny Omega. I mean,
yeah. Well,
God's sake, later tonight he's got Daniel Garcia that he's going to be putting his title on the line against.
Not to mention where World's End is going to take place. They're not going to have him
Long Island,
walk
New York.
in to the show not being the AEW World Champion.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I thought that maybe Jay White, it was going to be his era and the Switchblade era.
But either way, it's going to be the era of the Bang Bang Gang.
Yes, sir. But yeah, beats MJF, they claim a daddy ass. And then after the match, Jay White tries to beat down MJF with a triple B, and then the Acclaim and Daddy Ass try to help out, but Jay White and MJF are in the ring. and Max Caster took the bullet, and then we get a scissor party after Daddy Ass got in the face of MGF. Yeah. Um, so we get onto the Collision side of things, the very first match. I'm happy that AR Fox, as of late, ever since coming back with everything that's happened, has been getting opportunities. And man, he's very underrated as a wrestler. He really
Yeah.
is, and he looked pretty good against Swerve Strickland that whole entire match. He really did. But again, I mean, you're gonna make Swerve Strickland look strong heading into his match against Hangman
Yeah.
and Page. So of course he's not gonna lose to AR Fox, even though AR Fox can make a strong case. I mean, AR Fox needs an opportunity. He needs something going right for him because that man is way too good to be getting all these losses in AEW. He really is. But yeah, Swerve Strickland does beat AR Fox, and then afterwards gets surrounded, and now come FTR and Mogul Embassy and FTR they beat each other down while the House of Black watch on. This is just a very interesting situation that's happening itself. Of course, this is all before the main event match that they were beating each other down. Because, the 8-man tag team match was the main event, but the House of Black, that is their show. They've been watching on. Ultimately, I think that, they're going to get back into the fold eventually. But they do have one faction that might have something to say about that. Um, Yeah, the Kingdom beat two local competitors. There's not much to talk about that.
Well, it was it during that match that Roddy did his thing, or was
Oh,
it? Well,
Joshua!
no, I'm not talking about that where he came out of the wheelchair and hit that jumping knee.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
so it did happen.
yes. It,
Nigel was great because he's like, I do believe in miracles. He slipped. And then when Roddy went down, he's like, "Oh, he slipped. He need." So,
I know,
and
Nigel's.
Tony Schiavone is like, "I don't believe this for a second, Nigel. I
Um,
don't buy it for a second."
but yeah, Darby Allin and Lance Archer face off against each other next. And man, Lance Archer, I mean,
The
he's making.
match itself was good, but it's what happened after that we'll talk about it.
Yeah, after the match, yeah, well, ultimately, Darby Allin does get the victory against Lance Archer, but Lance Archer, man, it just sucks. It really does suck for him. I mean, he's way
Tony
too
Khan just
good.
doesn't know what to do with him.
I know he's way too good. I mean, he was good back in the, the day, but now it just I don't know what they're trying to do with Lance Archer at all. It sucks because this is a man that um
If you ask me, he should go back to New Japan.
probably should.
I mean, granted, yeah, he's probably done like all there is to really do for him in New Japan. But at
Mm,
the same time, it's like, where else is he gonna go that he's gonna be utilized well as a monster?
right,
I
and
mean, he's been in Impact, he's been in WWE, now he's in AEW, and now he's learning that like, okay, maybe AEW isn't like
yeah,
like I said, he should really just go back to New Japan. Or if not New Japan, I feel like he would do better in All Japan. Or even like Noah or
yeah, and then
something like
after the
that.
match, Lance Archer gives Darby Allin the black eye as Jake the Snake Roberts recruits the Righteous.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could be a new faction there. Could be the Murder Hawk Monster and the Righteous to try to go after Darby Allin, and
It's a new trio. I just thought about that. That's a new trio challenge for the
that's what I'm saying.
trios
It's
titles.
something that you can do with Lance Archer.
At least it would be better than like Vincent and Dutch uh, teaming up with like Stu Grayson
Yeah,
to challenge for the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles. I mean,
true.
granted, not that it wouldn't be a bad thing, but at the same time, it's like I feel like they've already moved on from that whole thing with Stu Grayson, anyways. And that even kind of reminds me is like, what the hell are they doing with Stu Grayson now? Like he signed, and now
Who
it's like,
knows?
like He's
Uh,
kind of got lost in the shuffle already.
yeah,
It's
we're gonna
like,
get on to the next thing here. They claim a daddy ass at her 69-day celebration, and out comes
mm-hmm.
Dalton Castle and the boys. And then they break the trophy, and each trios beat each other down. And then face off
And it's an
and
impromptu
impromptu
trios
trios
title
title
match.
match. And I was thinking in my mind, it's like, oh my god, let me guess, they're gonna give Dalton Castle and the boys the trios titles here, even though they've been multiple 6-man
Champions in Ring of
champions in Ring
Honor.
of Honor. But no,
Nope.
the acclaimed daddy ass beat Dalton Castle and the boys to retain the World Trios Tag Team titles.
I think so far.
And now it's been, well, recording on Monday, uploading on Monday. It's been 73 days as World Trios Tag Team Champions.
Yeah,
So,
73.
so congratulations to the acclaimed daddy ass. Um, hopefully you can keep it going and being one of the longest reigning World Trios Tag Team champs.
That would be nice.
Speaking of a
Because
trio,
yeah, so far they might be.
Mark Briscoe was actually came back on Collision and
Well,
came out
to,
with,
to be fair, he technically came back on Rampage.
yeah,
But,
faced off for the first time on Collision and
yeah.
brought out Dustin Rhodes and Keith Lee to face off against Kip Sabian and the Workhorsemen and beats them. But later tonight, he's going to challenge Jay White for a shot at MJF's AEW World Championship. Man, the list just keeps on growing and growing and growing. Unfortunately, I don't see him beating Jay White. Jay White is just too good.
Well,
He's going to be riding.
Then,
he's going to be riding that momentum train all the way into full gear. It just sucks that he's not going to beat MJF because he's been on a hell of a roll.
Though, if it's not the Ring of Honor World Title, Jay White, or I'm sorry, Mark Briscoe should definitely vie to challenge for the AEW World Title. But I mean, I feel like at the time it made more sense for him to challenge for the World Title, and it just sucks that injury kind of prevented that match from happening against Claudio, because you already know if it wasn't for Mark Briscoe going down with an injury, Claudio would not have been the Ring of Honor World Champion as long as he did before he dropped it to Eddie Kingston.
True.
That's just my opinion. I feel like
I think it's going to be a good match. Mark Briscoe is going to bring it to Jay White. Jay White, it's going to do everything he can in its power to be able to beat him and will. So
yeah.
But Mark Briscoe can definitely certainly try out
Doesn't
he
mean
wants.
Still wouldn't be a good match.
So yeah, Willow Nightingale faced off against Emi Sakura. Emi Sakura was really trying everything she could to be able to beat Willow. This is the thing that I run into is that you have Willow Nightingale lose against Hikaru Shida, but you never beat Emi Sakura. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand it. I mean, Willow Nightingale is way too good to be taking losses when it really matters.
50-50 booking is starting to run rampant now in AEW, and it's like their whole thing in the beginning was, oh, we're not going to have 50-50 booking, and this whole thing of wins and losses will matter. It's like, well, as of late, it's kind of been proven that wins and losses don't matter really much anymore. It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, why are you going against the very foundation that the company was built on?
Yeah, I never understood that either. Speaking of another match that's going to be happening later tonight, we're going to get Samoa Joe putting his ROH World Television title, which,
on the line.
By the way, again, I don't understand why on the AEW.
Yeah, I don't understand
on AEW
either.
TV, but again, it's going to be against Keith Lee, and I think it's still going to be a good match regardless if it's.
Here's the thing:
for a title or not.
If they had done it on Ring of Honor television on Thursday, like if they had pre-recorded it for this upcoming Thursday, I would probably talk about it. I would probably talk about Ring of Honor as opposed to
They're
Impact.
probably only doing it because no eyes are getting on to ROH on
Well,
their weekly
maybe
television show.
if they started booking good matches on Ring of Honor and like started promoting their product more on social media to their loyal fans
Right.
like they have in the past, they would have more eyes.
True.
But,
True.
you know, like that's another thing of why I feel like AEW and ROH aren't really getting that many like viewers even in the arena and just in general. Lack of promotion.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be a good match, even though it's going to be for the ROH World Television
Oh yeah, it's
title.
absolutely going to be a great match. I'm not denying that.
And we're
I
going to get
just
on to our main event of the night as Roosh, Preston Vance, and FTR face off against the Gates of Agony, Big Bill and Ricky Starks. I'm grateful to see LFI back. I really am.
yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful to see Roosh and Preston Vance because Roosh is a hell of an underrated talent. I'm grateful that he's back.
Yeah.
Something that I think Collision needs. I think Collision definitely needs a lot of these just guys that you're not just seeing on Collision, honestly.
I
Um,
just say like not that I would really want them to do that, but at the same time I felt like that's what they were originally going to do with Collision
well,
anyways.
the only reason they did that is because of everything that was going on with the Elite and CM Punk.
Well, yeah, but even still I feel like they should really split the rosters
Yeah, I think so too. I think that would be
to free up
beneficial.
more, like free up more uh space on the roster and also just give more time to the people that deserve it. I mean, because look
Shit,
at
I mean, you have two shows that are 2 hours. You might as
yeah,
well split up the
yeah.
roster a little bit.
Instead of having certain guys on one brand basically, and then certain guys on another, and I'm talking about like AEW versus like ROH, because like certain guys have been only on ROH, and then certain guys have only been on AEW. It's like have some have a little bit of diversity with the
Right.
shows.
I mean, there are decent matches that are on Rampage that should be happening on like
I
Dynamite or
agree.
Collision. So honestly, I think
Here's looking at you, Santana
you
versus
should get rid
Ortiz.
of Rampage. Honestly, in
I
a way.
agree. Like it's Rampage has already kind of run its course. Like there's just too much AEW programming as it is.
I mean, if you just have the two shows Wednesday and Saturday, it should be just fine, honestly. But we're gonna get back on page here. Roosh, Preston Vance, and FTR do beat the Gates of Agony, Big Bill, and Ricky Starks, and then the House of Black beat down FTR after the match, and out comes BCC to even odds. Again, it just seems so weird what is going on with everything. Like the House of Black just have a lot of enemies right now, and I mean it's not a bad thing, but it's just like what are they doing with this type of storyline? I can't like
Yeah,
really even get behind it because it's just. I mean, that's another thing. It's just all over the place in a way. It's just like I don't know what to think about it. I don't know what to say about it. It just it's a lot that's going on right now. There is really, but ultimately, again, House of Black, like I said, they have a big target on their back. I mean, they're back for vengeance, and all the power to them. Honestly, BCC, they're really trying to do everything they can, but who knows? This is going to conclude this episode of No Final Bell. Please make sure to follow us on social media and Tinkle Sports on uh, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun jazz. That's our channel right there. Please go follow, like, comment, subscribe, and follow for more. Hit the bell notification to get notified for when our videos come out. I know YouTube sometimes will push it one week and not push it another week. I don't know why. I never understood it, but ultimately, I'd like to be able to have you guys for the next one. Goodbye, everyone.